Torah Ord, Megillah Esther, page 180, second column, 10 lines down. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining, in order for Elokus to come into the world, it has to be a vil levush malchus. He has to dress into the garments. And then when a person makes the mitzvah, there's the mitzvah, and the person yasa eisa adam, a person makes the mitzvah by doing it. So then they reveal this level of seviv kol almin into the world that normally cannot be revealed. So he says, Rak achad shemisnasim bechinas almin. And not because Hashem, like we say in davening, is removed from world. So how if the king, in essence, is removed from the world, how does the king reveal himself into the world? So it says, which is the level of Seviv Kol Almin, Makiv his Kulam Ashva'achas, Aval Ha'adam, Nimshachas Ha'adam, Bekiyam HaMitzvahs, B'mais, B'Beil Mamish. So therefore like this, how does the king reveal himself in the world? That's the level of Seviv. Because even a physical king, Shmei Nikra Aleim, it's not an internalized thing that the people listen to the king. It's a makiv tika thing. So you have the essence of the king, then you have the way the king controls the country. Now the king controls the country in a makif level. It's not a pnimius that people associate directly with the king. So therefore it's Seviv Kol Almin. But then when the person does mitzvahs, then they reveal Keser Malchus, not only the revelation of Malchus, of Seviv Kol Almin, they reveal Keser Malchus, that Torah Sha'at Le'imei, the Keser Shenasa Reish HaMelech, the crown that's put under the head of the king, on top of the head, Al Derech Moshe Me'avonim Tevis. He says like this, interesting. A king, where do you see the royalty? In the crown. Through the gems, the crown jewels, right? Those jewels are diamond. I mean, they're precious diamonds, but they're diamonds, the lowest level. Yet, the Alter Rebbe is saying like this. In a Gashmistic king, where do you see royalty? In the crown. The crown is basically diamond, stones, a precious stone, but it's diamond, stones. So what's the pshat? These stones, i.e. Maisa HaMitzvahs, become the crown on top of the king's head. Not only the malchus of the king with the heart of Seviv Kol Almin, the way the king indirectly controls the country, but then when the people do what the king wants them to do, i.e. in our case, they do Torah mitzvahs, so then they reveal the level of Keser Malchus. Not only the level of Seviv, but even higher than the king himself. Therefore, by doing the mitzvahs, Asher Yasa Adam, that the person does, even though they dress themselves into physical things, right? Cloth, wool, all that stuff. It becomes the crown above. It becomes the level of Einig, like the Gemara says, okay? And not only that, he says, this level of Tainug, which is higher than Chochmah, higher than the head, which represents the crown on the head, that level is Nimshach Mizgalim B'nefesh Adam B'Seisa Achas Mikol Mitzvahs Hashem. Then when the person does a mitzvah, that level becomes revealed within the person. The Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam Halachas Halichas Eilam, where Amshachas are into Baruch Hu Mamish B'Eilam, Ve'en LaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Eilam Ela Dal Ramishal Halach. Where does Hashem find himself in the world? In the four Amis of Allah. Okay? So the Alter Rebbe is explaining like this. The level of Yavil Levush Malchus is that they should reveal the garment of mitzvahs. Okay? It's the way the king controls the world. There's the king himself, then the way he deals with the world. But he deals with the world on a level of makif. Right? The king doesn't go out talking to everybody individually. Only when you're running for office do you go out to mingle with everyone. It's like Melo Basada, yeah. But otherwise, the king basically controls the world with Sefer Kolam. Here down to the, it's the same thing Me'alukus. How does Hashem create the world? Hashem Malach Geus, Hashem, but Lavish, he wears the garments, he puts himself into the garments Sefer Kolam. Yet when a Jew does a mitzvah, they take a level higher than Sefer Kolam, the level of Atar Shatar La'imeh, the Kesed Malchus, even though it's inanimate, but it's still the kingdom, the royalty, and that level becomes internalized within the Jew when he does a mitzvah.
Well, I understand that, because the essence, the crown is, in a sense, it's part of the Levushin, but it's not the essence of the Levushin.
It is, yeah, it's not stam garments of the king. The crown jewels represent the essence of the king.
That's represented the essence itself.
That's what the essence becomes revealed through the crown.
Well, we do the mitzvah is with Shabbat Shchinte.
You what?
We say with Shabbat Shchinte.
No.
Malchut and Midot. We don't get involved with the Keter. We say to connect the Midot and Malchut.
Explain it to us.
How many times did we learn that to connect two opposites, you have to tap into a level above, higher than both? Zoh is giving, Malchus is receiving. In order to bind the two levels of giver and receiver, you have to tap into a higher level. In order to make, in simpler English, in order to bind Gashmis and Ruchnias, which are opposites, more opposite than fire and water. Fire and water are both Gashmias. Yet, you cannot combine fire and water to coexist. I mean, they wish to could Lamaila, right? But generally speaking, fire and water cannot coexist. Yes? Now, Ruchnis and Gashmis are more apart, are more opposite than fire and water. How in the world can a Jew have the ability to take something Gashmi and make it holy by doing something with it?
You're making the Yichud.
How do you forget the Shem Yichuds? You take a Gashmistic thing, you do a mitzvah with it. You make it holy? You make it Ruchni?
Yes.
Okay. How do you combine the Ruchni and Gashmi?
I'm bringing something higher.
Higher than what?
Both.
Higher than Gashmi, higher than Ruchni. Or, i.e., higher than finite, higher than infinite. Now, what's your problem? Don't tell me all your problems. That's the level of Atar the Kesed Malchus. A level, you're taking Daimim and you're making it not only the head of the king, on top of the head of the king, but he says by mitzvahs that becomes Nimshach B'Primis. Okay, next paragraph. Therefore, the Yerushalmi says, "Anavim Aksuv Masin Libotel." It says like this. We know that when Mashiach comes, all the Yomim Tovim are going to be bottled except Chanukah and Purim. Other places it says only Purim. Now that the Yerushalmi says that when Mashiach comes, Nevi'im and Ksuvim are going to become bottled, but Megillas Esther and Halachas ain't asidin li bottled. But Megillas Esther and the Halachas are not going to become bottled. For Inyan, he says, now the Alter Rebbe explains, this that it says on Nevi'im v'Ksuvim asidin li bottled, this that it says Nevi'im and Ksuvim are going to become bottled, ain't pirish be bottled gamri. V'lo egin la Nevi'im klal, chas v'sholom. Because Torah is nitzchi. Torah is le'litia muchlefes. Torah will never change. What do you mean it's going to be bottled? Which means, by the way, if you take it simply, it means that even now it's not emes. Emes is eternity. So he says it doesn't mean chas v'shom may be bottled. What does it mean? There's going to be such a gilui of Elokus when Mashiach comes that the gilui of the Nevi'im, which is a much lower level, and he said, even though there's no question that the ray of the sun in the sun is more powerful, it's much more powerful, which is market hard. Okay, it sounds like the same thing, by the way. Here the Alter Rebbe is speaking about the Nevi'im bottle. Same thing it says, all the Yom Tov Masidli bottle except Purim. Chanukah, sometimes says Chanukah, Purim also. Now what does it mean? I mean, we won't have Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot. I mean, we won't have, So, the same explanation over here is, not Chas V'Shom, it will be bottled. It doesn't say it won't be anymore. It says it will be bottled. That means when Mashiach comes, there will be such a revelation of godliness that the revelation of Nevi'im or Ksuvim, or, as Alter Rebbe explains in different places, the Gilui of the Kedusha of the Yom Tovim, compared to the revelation of Mashiach, will be like nothing. It's like the example they give, Shraga B'Tiyara Mehani. The Gemara says, a candle, you light a candle during the day. It doesn't do anything. Not because, all of a sudden it becomes light, all of a sudden this candle does a lot. Why if it's during the day doesn't do anything? It's not the fault of the candle. It's just there's such a sunlight during the day, there's a greater light during the day, so this candle doesn't do anything. When there's a lack of Gili Or, so then the little candle is going to be great. Same thing he says, all the Yom Tov except Purim, and the same thing he's going to explain why it's Esther, because it says all the Nevi'im and Ksuvim are going to be bottled except Esther, and Halacha. The Gilui of Mashiach will be so great that the Gilui of the Nevi'im and Ksuvim, or all the other Chagim, are nothing compared to that revelation. So they're going to be like the candle during the day. But Purim and Megillah Esther and that is so great, so powerful, that even when Mashiach comes, it won't still nullify that Gilui. That Gilui will exist even when the essence will be revealed. And he says, Kach kol hanevim asidnli botol, meaning ba'od, Gilui ein tzabo, she is galil la'asid lovin. The Elokusa will be revealed when Mashiach comes with all kobasad. In Elzeh Amrul, this is what they say, Shemegillas Esther leiti botol. But Megillas Esther won't become bottle. Why? Ki Amer Hazal, the Gemara says in Megillah like this, everything has a source in Torah. Hashem looked into Torah, created the world, right? So everything has a source in Torah. So the Gemara asks, Esther min ha-Torah minayin. Where do we find Esther in the Torah? So the pasuk says, "V'anoichi hasted asted panei b'yemahu." The pasuk says, that day, I'm going to conceal myself. But not only hasted asted panei, double header, double concealment on that day, which means shashchin and mistateres begolus, that in the time of golus the Shechina hides herself in a level b'yemahu. There's zeh, we learned, right? And there's hu. Zeh is, as the Gemara uses the expression, mara be'etzba, the point with the finger says this. Yeah, this means it's right in front of you, it's noticeable, and you point to it, it's there. Hu, b'yemahu means that day. That means it's not here. Or else you'd say b'yemazeh. B'yemahu means it's concealed. It says, V'nechi hastit astit ponai b'yemahu, That by Yemahu, in the level of Hu, which is Klipa, not Gilui Elokus. Concealment is going to be a double Hester. So it's going to be double Hester. Bine la'atz laviksiv va'amar by Yemahu hine lekenu zeh kivinu le'shebchinas Hu bechinas zeh, which is Galus Kilu Nechach. So like this. We say this in what you call V'yitilcha. V'amar b'yemahu, b'yemahu, hine Elokeinu zeh kivinu le. Okay, that means in the level of Hu, v'amar b'yemahu is going to be the Gilu of zeh Hashem kivinu le. It's going to be in the Elokeinu zeh. That means the level of concealment is going to be a Gilui. V'amar b'yemahu hine Elokeinu zeh. That the Hu is really zeh. Shebachin is so something that concealed level of Hu, you'll be zeh. Shu is galus, will be revealed ki'ilu l'neichach, as if it's mamish in front of us. That means the concealment itself, Hu, will become zeh. Hainu sheyored erin sa baruch hamistatev enela. Al Mistimin is going to be revealed, the hidden worlds, to become Alma Dizgalion. Similar to what we learned. Yam, hidden world, becomes Yabash. Remember we learned the concealed world. Okay. Masha'enk in Esther is Bechinas, Aster, Shafilu Bechinas Bayemahu. What is it possible? Hine Anechi Aster Panem Ikem Bayemahu. That means who itself is concealment. In the level of Hu, it's going to be aster, double concealment. Because what's going to... How's the Chinese government? You made peace over there already? So it says, the level of steamer, the whole steamer, which means, it's saying Paschaleo, steam, right? The level of Alokutz, that's not only concealed. It's so concealed, it can't even be concealed. It's concealed in concealment. That powerful revelation of Hashem is so powerful it can't be revealed. It's only the Mar itself. It's not even the level of Or in the Shemesh, it's Mar of the Shemesh. And in fact, not only that, so over there it says, double Zeh. So Chassidus explains, by Kriyas Yam Suf, when Yam became Yabosha, Al Mediskasia, the hidden world, right? Yam, you don't see anything. Becomes the revealed world. The Jews only said one time Zeh. But Amar B'yemahu, when Mashiach comes, is going to be Zeh, double Zeh. Hasted, Asted, the double concealment B'yemahu. So the Gilui of Esther, because the concealment eventually became revealed by Purim. That level is so great, it's even greater than the Or in the sun, which is nullified to the sun, and therefore lost to Lavi. The Nevi'im are like the Or of the sun in the sun. This is not going to become bottled because this is the sun. Yeah.
So it's not a candle image.
That's why, like we learned many times, Megillas Esther is a contradiction of terms. You know that? Megillah means Gilui. Esther means concealment. Megillah Esther, in essence, Chassidus explains, a contradiction of terms. But what's the pshat? Purim is the revelation of the concealment. Now, where do you see the concealment in the Megillah? There's no mention of Hashem's name. There's no Gilui of Elokus openly in the Megillah. So the halachic reason, because the Gemara says, because the Persians are gonna make a history book, and if it said Hashem's name, they would use it as their gods. Okay, comes along to this, like we learned, and Chassidus explains why is there no Yud Kei Vav Kei in the Megillah? Because it's higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the 4 worlds, 4 letters, 4 worlds, right? But like Yom Kippurim, Lifnei Havaya, Titoru, higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei will become pure. It doesn't say Yechaper Hashem Aleichem. Because the Kapar of Yom Kippur comes from a level of the essence of Hashem higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's why we said, that Ezel says, Purim, Kippurim is Kippurim. That means Purim is even greater than Yom Kippur. Because Purim is a double Hester becoming revealed in a double Gilui. And therefore, what's all the connections? Yom Kippur, it says, is higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's why, what do they do on Yom Kippur? They cast lots. Which goat goes la Zazel, which goat goes la, for the korban, whatever, yeah? Lottery represents higher than Seichel. There's no logic in lottery. Why this guy wins, this guy doesn't, there's no logic. Geirol represents higher than logic. Therefore, it's just too late now. But Eretz Yisrael was divided, the pasuk says, right? And yet they do it, if you have more people, you get a bigger share, less people, smaller share, yet it was done by Geirol, which is totally illogical. The Geirol doesn't say more people, less people. Lottery is lottery. What happened on Purim? Why is it called Purim? Hipul Pur, who are Geirol. Pur, in Farsi, is a lottery. So why is it called Purim? Because he cast lots, right? Why should the Yom Tov be called Purim? Because again, what's the whole inyan of Purim? The level of lots, which is higher than Seichel. So therefore, Purim is not the revelation of the Od in the sun, so it's going to be bottled because the sun is the sun and this is only Od. He says this, Ein aziv el ma'or atzmei. Purim is the essence of Elokus revealed. Therefore, even when Mashiach comes, it's not going to be bottled because it's the same Gilui.
When they wrote it, they were like, this is by purpose they wrote it like this? That they didn't put the name of Hashem?
Mordechai was a Rebbe. The Gemara says Mordechai b'derech Kamesh b'derech, yeah? Mordechai was a Hasidic Rebbe. He learned Hasidus. He learned this. He knew that the Inyan of Purim is something of higher than Seichel, higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's a whole different approach. I mean, this approach to Purim is very different than the non-Chassidic approach to Purim. And also, it doesn't make sense. Everything's going to be bottled except Megillah Esther, but Torah won't exist anymore. Or the Chagim won't exist anymore. That's simply what it means. All the Yom Tov are going to be bottled, chutz mi Purim. On Chanukah. I mean, which is even more wondrous. Those are rabbinic mitzvahs. So the rabbinic mitzvahs are going to stay. The biblical mitzvahs are not going to stay. It makes sense. But Chassidus explains why it is. Because you can understand, the Rebbe says in many sichas, when there's a double concealment, and that concealment turns to light, it's a much greater light than one concealment. And again, it's not the pshat, let's get this straight. It doesn't mean that in the concealment, in the darkness, you're going to bring a light and it's going to shine there. That's not what it means. Because then, as soon as you take away the light, it's back to darkness. You didn't transform the darkness. You just dispelled it. You got rid of it. But you didn't elevate it. The ultimate chevron of Purim and all that is V'amar b'yemo hu in elakenu zeh. That the who becomes zeh. Not you bring in a candle and therefore the who is just lit up. The who becomes zeh. The inanimate stones of the king become the crumb. Become the essence of his of the kingdom.
Oh, yeah.